right, here we go. I'm excited to be back here. Stronger Together podcast is rolling on. We are live from FETC, as you've seen all morning, and we continue on. My name is Matthew Joseph. I am the co-host of Stronger Together podcast for our time here at FETC. I'm thrilled to be partnering with Identity Automation. My co-host Jamie Donnelly is with me. So, Jamie, talk a little bit about Identity Automation and the work that you do.
Yeah, it's all about connections. It's all about being stronger together. So many different things in our ecosystem and education, having it all connected in one central location to be able to manage and keep secure, which is really the biggest struggle we have. So Identity Automation offers the identity and access management in a secure, safe, efficient way. So
yeah, and I think that's great because when you have that safe environment, you can do so many creative things in the classroom. And I am thrilled to have Joe and Kristin Merrill here to talk about their amazing work and all the things that they're doing here.
Thank you so much, Matthew. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we're so excited to get to talk to you.
It's great to be with both two of our favorite people. So thank you so
You
much.
don't have to say that on the podcast.
No, it's so
I
true.
expected it.
We walked up and saw Jamie. Oh my gosh.
It's like 2 for 1.
Yeah,
2 for 1.
buy one, get one.
That's really cool. Well, tell us a little bit about the work that you guys do. I've known your work for many years. I've been watching you all do crazy social media posts for so many awesome years. But do you want to share a little bit about what's going on professionally for you all right now, what your passion is in education, and really what you're doing here at FETC to deliver?
All right. Well, we have been in the classroom for a really long time. And I think originally we started with this idea of just like technology and how fun and engaging it is and how it can really be used to elevate learning in the classroom. And then over the years, I was told I'm not allowed to say I'm getting older, but over the years, there is still the same value of that engagement, but kind of really looking to with AI and in the classroom with the kids, like just the idea of creation and creativity and how can we still use the technology and not that it can't be engaging, but move past that engagement too and into the creation world. And then also what kind of digital literacy skills can we teach our kids, whether it's in internet safety or it's in design or at any age level to kind of prepare them for the ways that the technology is going to be used outside of the classroom when they're done with school.
Yeah, I think if you would have asked me, when COVID hit, if I thought that teaching was going to change the way that it did, I would have said obviously no. Then when COVID happened, we all learned all these digital platforms. And if you would have asked me around that time, is there going to be another drastic change in education? I would have said, no way, absolutely not. And now here's AI, right? And so I feel like education has kind of gone through the ringer the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And so it's really, it's important though, that as educators, we look at what are the things that haven't changed, right? And it's creativity. And so being able to keep creation in the classroom is so important to us. We're so passionate about it because even though AI can be a part of that, it still very much needs to be in our classrooms daily.
Yeah.
So you are off and running. This morning at 8:30 session, correct? Empowering learning with AI, hands-on approach. And then you have another one this afternoon. So I'm thrilled we were able to squeeze you in between. You have one at 1:30 today. So if you're here on Tuesday at South 320A at 1:30. So it's teaching AI. We're never getting back together with old methods. I love this title because as a district leader, I heard too much like, all right, we're back forward. We'll go back to what we were doing. Tell me about this session and what participants will be, learning in the 2 hours.
So Taylor Swift is obviously huge with Kristin. She's a huge Swiftie.
I am.
I very much appreciate Taylor Swift, but that's not my genre of music. But I still very much appreciate her, and as a musician, can't give her enough kudos because she's awesome when she does. But the session itself is all Taylor Swift themed, and there's lots of puns.
What he did in the presentation, which is the design and the puns, which are fantastic. They're amazing, totally red themed. But the presentation is just the heart of a good classroom. And some things are great. Whiteboards are great. Can you use AI and technology to enhance that? Of course you can. There are some things that are in our classrooms, like that old filing cabinet drawer that you pull the lesson out every year, that need to go away forever and don't need to be here all the time. And so just kind of looking at some of the things that we do as teachers and asking ourselves, like, why do we do them? And do we need to keep doing them? And then also, yes, some of these things we do need to do, but how can we be more efficient? How can we save time? How can we make space for some of the other things that are being put on our plate as educators? And on top of all that, keep the creation and the technology alive.
You guys mentioned, had you asked the question of what our classrooms would look like today, pre-COVID, and where we're at today, you wouldn't believe it. But, do you feel like educators, because that's usually kind of one of the biggest struggles, is getting people to embrace the change, right? Do you feel like you've had more people say, I'm ready to jump in, let's move forward? Or do you feel like you get a lot more pushback, or is it kind of a mix? Like where has that been going for you all?
I think for us, well, for me specifically, I think that the COVID stuff, when that hit, it was more of like, okay, I have to learn this now. I have to, right? This is more of a choice now. Like people are like, do I really need to use AI in the classroom? And so those that are kind of tinkering with the idea, but are reluctant, it's because of fear, right? And a lot of it is just they're not quite sure how it's going to translate into an education setting. And so what we've been doing with a lot of our presentations and sessions is trying to kind of alleviate that pressure and try to explain, like, okay, these are safe ways that you can use it that are relevant, that are engaging, that still encourage those core values that we believe in about interactive work, about staying relevant, staying engaging. And so being able to use AI in such a way will then go in to help us developing our activities.
And we're very different. So when you're given the choice to you have to do something versus you can choose, and even with the AI, Joe jumped right in. He was like, I'm in for all the things, and I was like, I don't need it. Like I can teach just fine without it. And so I think that helps us when we get to present with people, because we're like, look, we were on both ends of the spectrum, and also talking to teachers about how you're going to hear in all these presentations so many different platforms, and you don't have to use every single one. You can just use one, or you can just use two, and get really good at how it works, and see if it works for your students. And if it does, learn something new, or it didn't work, try something different. And so we always say, we hope you come leave with one idea or one platform maybe that you're going to use, versus trying to fill your box with all of these things that you can't realistically stay with all the other things that you have going on.
And as we look forward, it sounds like, or it reads as, the Taylor Swift theme continues into tomorrow, January 15th on Wednesday, 8 a.m., right in the morning, another 2-hour workshop. Unlock your creativity with Canva. But from blank spaces, there's from blank space to love story. So I'm guessing there's some tie-ins there too. So what's that workshop?
Okay, so that workshop actually set off the workshop today. It was so popular at ISTE that we realized that people kind of like the fun theme, and so we did another one. That one's all about Canva, and it's great. We've had questions on if it's for, if I'm just starting to use Canva, or if I'm a user that's used it for a long time. Anyone can come. And really what it is we're going to look at some of the tools and walk you through what they are and where they're located, and then we're going to show you how you can layer a bunch of them together to make something for your classroom. So if you want to make a book cover, here's how you generate the AI, here's how you find the text, here's how you layer this, here's how you use Magic Eraser, so that teachers can go and take that exact lesson and maybe try it with their students, and then feel confident that they know how to do it, because that's sometimes the fear. Like, you could drop your kids in there and they're going to figure it out, but if we aren't comfortable doing it, we tend not to use a platform. And so it's geared like that. We go through lots of different features and aspects.
All right, I have a follow-up for you all, because you were talking about kind of asking people to take that next step. You mentioned digital literacy being a top approach, and I know working for pretty much cybersecurity company that really looks at, phishing happening in our schools and the ransomware attacks that we've seen across the country in a way that we've never seen it throughout history, right? But you're looking at all of these things on how to use this technology effectively. You're asking them to really jump into AI, which can be super scary, but how you take the approach of that digital literacy to help them approach the technology in a meaningful way, but also a safe way.
Yeah, I look for ways that already fit within what I'm doing. So not necessarily going in, I don't, in my content area, don't have the ability to teach a full digital literacy class, but for instance, I'm a reading teacher, and we happen to be reading a book about codes and ciphers and puzzles, and I found this really cool video. I've had lots of them, but I chose to choose the one that was actually kind of on digital programming, and it talked all about ciphers and codes, and then had this 3-minute blip about how websites create security and how they use paint colors, and then explain to the kids the little key that's on the top and what that means and how. And so I felt like, okay, let's talk about how this idea of coding and puzzles really is at the heart of how websites are coded, and you need to be looking for that, like something like a very basic level. Or even with our own children at home, we often will look at images or things like, do you think AI did that? Like, what do you think about that? And try and just help the kids like pick it. Like, our own kids are so funny. Like, we'll watch a commercial, like, that was totally done.
Yeah.
And it's an important skill, right? For them to understand, like, those people you're looking at are not real people. They don't look like that. And then getting to teach the kids as they get older, maybe like middle school, even high school, okay, let's show you how to edit a photo. Let's show you how you can so drastically change something, because that's what's happening with these magic tools in Canva. You're altering reality, and teaching the kids how to see that, how to judge it, how to use it responsibly. It's fun to go into Canva and have it make you an AI image, but then what are the realities of that? And then how do we teach them? I don't think we should be dropping our kids and saying, okay, let's figure it out.
Right.
But I think we can handle a lot more than we think they can handle, and they're already seeing a lot more than you probably think they're seeing.
Yeah, I will say before we left, actually, I made a funny FETC video that I shared out, and I made it with AI, and I showed it to my kids because I wanted to trick them into thinking it was real, and they knew immediately that it was not real.
Was that because you were dunking, or was that because?
You said it.
So that was Ainsley. That was the comment back to me though. But so I showed it to my mother-in-law or my mother, and she thought it was real, right?
Yeah.
And so it was very telling because the kids are actually pretty good about picking up what's real and what's not. But the older crowd, we have to work a little bit harder at it, right?
But I think the reason why is because they are creating.
Yeah.
Our son knows in the CapCut. Our son has some of those platforms, so he's already getting to see how you make it. So he's better able to figure it out, right? Whereas the older generation, like our parents, my mom's 82, no clue. No, so she just believes that so much is real than it is, and so that's kind of that value of, yes, we have to have our kids creating, and then how do we create in a way that demonstrates understanding of learning over just creating and doing things for us. And that's a very fine line too, as teachers and the students, to kind of figure out how the best use is.
Yeah, and I think that leads right into your Thursday session. Your Thursday session is really focused around students in creation. You have a session at 10 o'clock, creation over consumption. That's at South 310. And then later in the day at 1:30, leveling up your lessons with student voice. So it transitions into that work, into empowering students. So tell us about those sessions and how educators are going to lead with the plan.
So the creation over consumption session really started off as looking at
Be careful.
I know I have to think about how I answer. The older methods, right? Like a worksheet, right? How can you take what's asking maybe like to explain what the plot of the story is on the worksheet and translate that into something that's way more engaging for students, right? We don't want our students to be the consumers of the content. We want them to be the creators, right? And so by enabling them to use different platforms to make things, they retain that information longer and they're able to then hold on to it. And so that whole session is basically focused on just ways you can take your basic, normal, everyday classroom activities and level them up to something new.
Yeah, and student voice is a term that you apply to like so many different applications, but really at the heart, are we giving our students somewhat of an agency in our classroom at different levels? And I feel like in some places, I can only speak to where I've taught or where I've lived. I feel like over time, the teacher has kind of had this hierarchy in the classroom in right ways, but in some ways it's not needed because of the fear of all these other things that are coming out. So I'm just going to like lock down what we do every day, how we do it. And in a way to which the classroom doesn't feel like a space that they can feel welcomed in. And so how can we create lessons that are still totally standard-based, that are data-driven, that are covering the things we need to do, but almost in a way that kind of tricks kids into feeling like that they have a say in all of it, when in reality they only have a say in a very small part. And when you have that
buy-in.
that buy-in, I guess, then the product of what they're going to create is so much better because they feel attached to it, right? Like think about if you make something or you know, like a plant, like I have tons of plants. Like if I nurse this plant back to health and I've grown it since it's little and I'm so attached to that plant that when it gets really cold outside, I bring it inside because I don't want it to die. I care a lot about it. And so if kids are doing that same thing with the lesson in the very beginning, they're going to have the buy-in to do things when it's hard. They're going to have the buy-in to do things that are kind of boring. They don't really like the content. They're going to have the buy-in to help each other to struggle through, to kind of chew through something that's much more rigorous than just, you know, the workshop.
Yeah, but she has too many plants. We can't bring them all
Yeah,
inside.
we all bring inside. Yes. Hurricanes are so much fun. Jungle.
That's
But they're all
awesome.
healthy.
Well, now that we know all the things you guys are going to be doing, which I thought he was done the last 3 times he's talked to you, but every time he comes back on, he's like, okay, now your next session is, and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
you guys have a lot of sessions.
Yeah.
But, you know, now that you are delivering the professional development, what on your end do you want to take as a learner? What are you hoping to gain from FETC?
I think for us, it's maybe for me specifically, it's the connection with all of our friends, right? Like it's the most refreshing thing. And so
Yeah.
when you are in the middle of the year, you're kind of at a point in the year where you need that boost of energy to get you through the last few months. This is the perfect conference to come to get that. You know, when you see your friends walking on, you see the ideas that they're doing and the ideas that they're sharing. They inspire you to want to do new things and to try out new apps. And so we'll talk to our friends and be like, what do you want to see? What are you going to check out? And if we can fit into our schedule, we definitely go and follow them.
Yeah, and you find someone who's doing something very different from you, but they share, then you find eventually as you start talking that you do have a connection with either a program or a concept or, oh, I used to teach history 10 years ago. Oh, really? What to do? And you can share that way. Sometimes I just like to walk down the hall and I'll see a line that's really long and be like, why is that line so long?
Yeah.
What are they talking about? And if I can get in, I'll sit in. Even if I can't sit in for the whole session, I like to see what everyone else is kind of following. Even if it's not necessarily something I value or I think I need, that means there's a lot of people that are going to that. And so maybe I'm missing out on something. Because who's to say I know everything? Or maybe I can learn something. So I love to just walk by and see the long lines and kind of pick and choose what people are, you know, where I'm going sometimes based on what other people have found to be interesting.
Yeah. So I can't get you out of here without talking about, you have one more thing, and that is besides the Expo Hall tour you're doing on Wednesday, on Thursday at 1.
No way. There's no more sessions.
There's no more sessions. So Wednesday you're doing a vendor hall, Expo Hall tour at 2:30, but on Thursday at 11:15 you will be showcasing the new book that is out. Creation in the World of AI. I saw this come out. I was so excited for you. I love to see when others are doing great things and succeeding. So share about the new project, the new book, and I'm sure it's tied into some of the sessions we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's absolutely tied into the sessions. So it came out just the first of the year, so we can have it ready for FETC. There's a whole story that we won't get into with that, but we have copies. We have a limited amount of copies that we were able to get in time, so we do have some. But yeah, it's really focused just around, even that we are in this world of AI, how can we maintain that level of creativity in the classroom?
Yeah, the book is kind of structured a lot of the sessions that we've been doing for a long time that people would come to or request when we would go speak. You know, there's a session on assessments and like what does that look like when you're using a lot of technology, and how can something that a student creates become an assessment, and how can you assess the work all the time over just like, you know, these points. There is a section on student agency and like how it's really important for students to feel seen and valued in the classroom, to be able to learn. There's a chapter on pedagogy and what that looks like, and how we need to kind of rethink the pillars of what we kind of build our classroom around. And so we kind of took some of the things that people asked us about a lot and tried to structure it in a way that values the two things we love, creativity and technology and AI. And then, as always, we have all the lessons in the back of some of our favorite applications that we use in our classroom, some model lessons and resources that if you were one of those people that wants to get started but has a really hard time finding a place, you could pick maybe one app within there and take some of those lessons and try them out.
The best part is we got Manuel prior to the
Hey.
Yep.
Second shout out.
Shout out.
Shout out to him. And also, Ann Cosma did the forward.
Yeah, my girl Ann. Shout
You know,
out to
we've
Ann.
had some fun like
Cool.
reconnecting with people who really embody our philosophies within our classroom. People to, if nothing else, follow them on, on X and follow them and see what they're doing. Because they've inspired us and inspired our classrooms. And it's just kind of a work of love. It's not something that, we did to say, oh, we wrote this book, but to share with people so that they can have the things that we've been sharing for years.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thank you we made time. The schedule was out and you're like, can we fit you in? We found time and it was incredible because I always like to connect with you. I love to watch and learn from individuals like yourself who do something totally different than I do. It's not a skill set that I have. It's not what I present on. And I love to learn because it helps me in my role when supporting schools and supporting districts. So thank you for the work. And for those of you who are not here, you still can go on to Amazon, visit any of their socials, log on, find the book, grab a copy, and learn from all the practical. I love people who do practical work where you can read something and put it into place. It's just such a resource to the educators. So Joe and Kristin, thanks for taking time, fitting us into your busy schedule as we learned. And if you are looking
In between a million sessions.
make sure to go to the FETC search field in case you didn't write everything down that we just said. Just put in, you can look up them by name or just put in Merrill in the search field. You get all of their sessions.
Maybe Taylor Swift or
Yeah,
Maybe Swiftie, you never know.
I'm that good.
Well, thank you
Matthew,
so much.
thanks so much for giving us time. We know the schedule is jam-packed, and we just absolutely love your
love our
podcast.
conversation, yeah.
We really appreciate our conversations and learning from you guys, too. So thank you so much for having us.
So cool.
Awesome. Have a great full week.
Thanks, guys.